from Boston After School and Beyond. I'm the Program Director for Summer Learning. And I'm joined by Katie Tosh, who's the Program Director for Measurement and Outreach, also from Boston After School and Beyond. And we're going to get started this morning, so thank you for joining us. And welcome to the Boston Summer Learning Community webinar for returning aligned sites. We're really excited to work with all of you this summer, this spring and this summer, and continue to build on the great collective work we've accomplished over the past several years. So in our time together on the webinar today, we wanted to cover several items. First and foremost, the goals of the summer learning community and how our collective measurement work fits within those goals. Secondly, provide an overview of the requirements of being an aligned site in a summer learning community in 2015. And we also wanted to discuss the rollout of prep for summer 2015 for aligned sites. So that would include the consent forms, the central program development sessions, and the memorandum of understanding. Katie and I will run through the content first and leave ample time for questions at the end. So please feel free to jot down questions as we go along. And also you'll notice on the right side of your screen there's a questions box, so feel free to type in questions as we move along as well. And we are recording this webinar, so we'll send out the recording plus the slides after the webinar has concluded. So I want to start with to provide some context for the summer learning community, including its history. So since 2010, Boston After School and Beyond has partnered with Boston Public Schools to co-design the Summer Learning Project. This is a school community approach to summer learning. Nonprofit organizations and Boston Public Schools co-develop programming, and enrichment staff and certified teachers co-deliver programming focused on academics, skills, and program quality. We had 18 summer learning project sites last summer, and we anticipate approximately 20 summer learning project sites in summer 2015. One of the design components of the summer learning project is consistency in program measurement, but flexibility in approach. So all of our summer learning project sites have implemented common evaluation tools to benchmark progress against goals and inform continuous improvement since 2010. This consistency in program measurement generated a lot of interest citywide in evaluating summer learning and summer enrichment activities. So since 2012, program providers from across the city have adopted a common approach to program quality measurement in summer. These sites with a wide variety of program models are dubbed aligned sites. Last summer we had 40 aligned sites, and this summer we are hoping to have 55 aligned sites. So any referrals you may have are welcome, or if your organization is interested in adding sites to the aligned cohort, we welcome those conversations as well. We should also note some organizations run an SLP site and also have affiliated sites join the aligned cohort. So we welcome this as well and look forward to continuing to do this with some of your organizations in summer 2015. So taken together in summer 2015, we are hoping to have the 20 summer learning project sites plus the 55 aligned sites for a Boston summer learning community of 75 total sites who are all pursuing continuous improvement together. So this community of 75 sites is defines, implements, and measures program quality consistently and utilizes the data, trends, and next steps that emerge from the use of common measurement tools. All of our sites meet year-round to plan for the ensuing summer, and many of you were at our Summer Learning Summit in February last month, which is a great example of how the common measurement tools allow sites to collaborate and learn from one another. So with measurement and year-round gatherings serving as a backbone, we pursue three goals together as a community. First, increasing student access to summer learning. And as we'll talk about later, youthservices.net provides a shared forum to track access. Secondly, improving the quality of programming. Common data allows us to pursue continuous improvement together. And lastly, scaling best practices. Objective data collection enables top performers to emerge and share what works for high-quality programming with the broader Boston summer learning field. So that sets the context for the Boston Summer Learning Community, and now I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Katie Tosh, who will discuss the implementation of common measurement in summer 2015.
Okay, thanks, David, and thank you to all of you for being with us this morning to learn about summer 2015. So I'm going to go over a few of the requirements to be a part of the aligned cohort this year. A lot of them are mostly the same as last year, so this should be just a refresher and familiar to all of you. So the first requirement will be the APT, Assessment of Program Practices Observation, and that's when the third-party observer from NIOST comes to your site and observes and rates your program on various aspects of program quality. And so NIOST will work with you on when to schedule the site visit that makes the most sense for your programming. Something new we're offering this year is an optional self-assessment using the APT. And so what we'll do is we'll post an electronic version of the APT online that you can use to observe your program on your own. So many partners who have done this in the past say that it is a valuable experience and makes the data from NIOST and from their own observation much more meaningful. So again, this is optional. And if you choose to do this, we will analyze the data for you and produce a report. And so more information on that will be coming closer to summer, but we wanted to let you know now that it will be available if you choose to do it. The second requirement that's the same as last year will be the SAOY. So this is the youth survey that's administered at the end of the program, where the youth have an opportunity to reflect back on their program experiences and give us their sense of program quality. So this will be the same as last year. We would prefer electronic submission over paper if that's at all possible. We recognize that due to the technological availabilities at all of your sites, this might not be possible, but if it is at all possible, we would greatly appreciate it. As David said, we're expanding out the number of sites involved with summer measurement this year. And so being able to have the electronic submission makes the data collection and cleaning and analysis much faster, which means everybody gets their prisms back a little bit sooner than usual. And so again, the SAOY is for students entering grade 4 and older. Again, the same as last year will be youthservices.net, but hopefully it will be a lot smoother and cleaner this year than when you piloted this with us last summer. And so as David said, Youth Services helps us track access to citywide out-of-school time learning opportunities. And so we piloted it with you guys last summer. We have a lot of school year partners that are using it as well to track student attendance during the school year. And most of the programs who are using it also use our measurement tools, but there are some who are using it who are just helping to contribute to the shared knowledge of what's going on citywide. So an example would be the Mayor's Youth Council is using it to track their attendance and participation as well. So what you'll be using Youth Services for is to track your program's attendance and student demographics. Something new this year is we'll ask you to input a brief program profile, which will be on the landing page for when you log in. So that's just to help us have a more complete set of information on who's in the aligned cohort. Also, all of the observation and survey data from the APT and SAOY will be in Youth Services. Your 2014 data is already uploaded in there. And so the PRISM will be generated and accessed via Youth Services this year. So that's another way that we're streamlining this whole process to allow us to expand out to more sites. And so if you don't use it and upload data, you will not be able to access the PRISM. So it's very important that you use Youth Services in order to get the full benefits of participating in the aligned cohort. And so we will have webinar tutorials in late May or early June for staff who will be interacting directly with Youth Services. And so we'll send out more information on that. But wanted to let you know the requirements of Youth Services now and let you know that there will be more detailed webinars on the nitty-gritty coming closer to summer. Something new that we're adding this year is that we are going to subsidize the Holistic Student Assessment, which is a survey tool from the Program in Education, After School, and Resiliency, referred to as PAIR. And so that's a youth survey as well, suitable for students entering grades 5 and older. So there are two versions of the HSA. The diagnostic is done at either before summer programming or right during the first week. And so that helps inform program design. And what the HSA diagnostic is the chance for the youth to let you know what their strengths and weaknesses are, or strengths and challenges in terms of social emotional skills. So how do they feel they are at optimism, at critical thinking from their perspective. And so programs have used this to help inform their program delivery based on the characteristics of the youth that they're serving. The other version of the HSA is a retrospective version. And so this is typically delivered in conjunction with the SAOY. And so what this survey does is it measures the power skill development from the youth's perspective. So it asks the youth to reflect on how they are in certain skill areas as a result of being in your summer program. And so we'll confirm these details by the end of April, but we wanted to let you know that we'll be making it available. It is optional. So think about between now and closer to summer if this is something that you would be interested in doing. It would be, the results would be incorporated into your PRISM report as well. And so if you want to have more information about the HSA or any of the measurement tools, you can click on this link that's embedded in the slide, and I'll take you to our website where we have more details on the HSA and the other measurement tools. The other thing I wanted to go over with you is about the consent form, which everyone should have received via email in English and Spanish. And we're just waiting on the Portuguese translation, which should be ready today or tomorrow. And then you'll get another email with how to access all of the various translated languages, which I think are Haitian Creole, French, Portuguese, Cape Verdean, Chinese, and Vietnamese. And so that was something you guys asked for in the fall, and so we were able to pull that together for you this year. And so the way that processing the consent forms is going to work is that once you upload your student roster to youthservices.net, you'll be able to indicate in Youth Services if the student has a returned signed consent form. So we're still in the process of adding this functionality to Youth Services right now, so we'll go over it in more detail in the May or June Youth Services webinars on how exactly that's going to work. But we will be keeping track of the consent via Youth Services. And so this is great because this allows you to upload your entire student roster if you want. So if you have 50 kids in your program and you only get consents back on 35, you can upload your entire roster, track all the attendance and participation for your entire program. And then we'll know only to collect the demographic data on the ones that have consent. And so a signed return consent form is required for the student to be included in the data collection. And so more on this in the Youth Services webinars coming closer to summer. The other thing about consent forms is that we'll need you to retain the original signed return parental consent forms so that you can return it to us so we can keep that on file for BPS. So you can feel free to make copies for your own programs if you want to keep that for your records. And we'll work with you on how to get those back to us, whether it's easiest for you to mail it to us, bring it with you to one of our upcoming meetings, whatever is easiest. So we'll need all the consent forms to be submitted by the first week of your summer programming. But if you plan to do the HSA diagnostic, you would obviously need to have your consent forms in a little earlier so we can make sure to have the data collected on those students. Now I'll hand it back over to David to talk about some of the program development supports for this summer.
Great. Thanks, Katie. So Katie just covered the measurement requirements implemented during summer. And backtracking to spring now, with those measurement domains in mind, we will organize central supports for programs to learn from one another. You can see the calendar in front of you. So in mid-May, we will once again offer an APT 1.0 training to discuss the domains incorporated in the APT tool. Katie covered that in one of the previous slides. That's the tool the independent observer uses when they visit your site. And this training will also cover how this understanding of the tool can inform high-quality program design from a program development angle. So many of you already attended this training last year, so this is targeted for new program leaders or those from your organization who weren't able to attend last year. So to be blunt, if you came to last year's session on APT, this would not be for you because it would be repetitive to what you experienced last year. Following that, in late May, we will host with Boston Public Schools a Site Manager Summer Institute. The goal of this is for site managers to share best practices in academic content delivery, student social-emotional growth, and program quality. And this is required for aligned sites to participate in summer 2015. We encourage 1 or 2 representatives per organization to participate in the Site Manager Summer Institute. In June, we will host webinars on youthservices.net. This is what Katie described as the nitty-gritty of the system itself. at least one representative from each aligned organization is required to participate in one of the webinars. And this should be the person or the individuals who are actually inputting data into the system on a daily basis. That's who the webinars are designed for. So as you can see, together we have a very robust and ambitious agenda over the next several months leading into and through summer 2015. We are excited to pursue our shared goals of increasing access to summer learning opportunities for students, improving the quality of programming, and scaling best practices. For next steps, in April, your organization will receive a very simple form to complete to officially commit to the Align group in summer 2015. We'll ask you questions like how many sites will participate in the Align cohort, number of youth you'll probably serve in summer at each site, and approximate dates of operation. And this is designed for us to understand who's going to actually participate in summer 2015. And that sets the stage for the Memorandum of Understanding. And the new feature of the Memorandum of Understanding this year is that programs will be responsible for financially reimbursing Boston After School and Beyond for the cost of required tools not successfully administered. So for example, if your program cancels the independent observer visit and never attempts to reschedule that observer, your organization will be responsible for reimbursing Boston After School and Beyond for the cost of that visit. And a good question was raised in one of the prior webinars we had. We're only looking for reimbursement if entire administrations are canceled. So in other words, if you completely cancel a SAOY administration or completely cancel an APT observation, those would be the only criteria for having you reimburse the organization or reimburse Boston After School and Beyond for the cost of those administrations. So we appreciate your attention today on the webinar, and Katie and I are of course available for follow-up in the coming weeks. And we wanted to take this time right now to pause for any questions or comments. We welcome both questions and comments that you may have. And we have about 40 minutes left, so we have plenty of time, ample time for any questions or comments you may have. So we'll pause right now, and feel free to type in to the box on the right side of your screen, or feel free to, we're going to unmute you, so also feel free to speak into your phone. So as you all are pondering questions, we had some questions in our first webinar that we'll just repeat right now that were good questions just so we're all on the same page. And please, again, feel free to type into the question box, and I'll pause in a minute to allow any oral questions. But one of the questions brought up in the prior webinar was, is there a minimum number of students? And the answer to that is no, although we encourage 10 students to be part of the site cohort that's part of the study, just so, or part of the evaluation, just so the sample size is robust enough for particularly the SAOY Youth Administration. Another question that was brought up on a prior webinar was, is there an age range? And the age range is K through rising 13 graders. So basically any age you can imagine. There is no limitation to the ages served at your site to be part of the Align cohort. Another question that was brought up on the prior webinar was, are there any changes to the surveys from last year? So that would be the SAOY or the HSA, and the answer to that is no, there are no significant changes to the surveys in terms of content or length. So I'm going to pause now just in case anyone wants to ask a question over the phone. So we received the question via the right-hand side of the box, and we're just trying to read through it before we answer it. So we'll read it out loud, though, for everyone to hear.
Okay, so the question says, is it correct that for any students from whom we do not receive consent forms by the first week of our summer program, is it too late? In other words, we should no longer seek to get those consent forms in if we do not have them by the first week. Let's see. I would say that you can still try and get them in. The reason we're asking for them in by the first week is that so we can go ahead and start the process of getting data from DPS and getting the IDs set up with NIOS, is that will make the whole process of collection and analyzing the data much quicker if we can start it during the summer, rather than waiting until after all the programs are finished. And so I would say that probably by midway through your program is when you should probably stop. So we would really like all the consent forms in by the first week, end of the first week, but if you have really low return rate for whatever reason, we can talk with you and see how things are going.
And to follow up, too, on the financial reimbursement piece, I want to give a little bit more of an example to illustrate that. So in the MOU, your organization will be responsible for reimbursing Boston After School and Beyond if you can cancel the complete administration of, for example, the APT or the SAOY. And someone brought up on the call last week, if you had 30 students part of the aligned cohort and only 26 completed the SAOY, would your organization be responsible for reimbursing the other 4 SAOYs? And the answer to that is no. It's only if you cancel the complete administrations of either the SAOY or the APT that your organization would be responsible for reimbursing Boston After School and Beyond as part of the MOU.
So we had another question that says, if we are a week-long program, not summer-long, can we still collect consent forms on the first day of a program? This would be as late as the final week of our program. Yeah, so if that's your program model where it's a different set of students every week, then yes, that would be fine to collect on the first day and throughout the entire week of your program. And so we would just know ahead of time that that's the model, so we're not badgering you for consent forms. So we'll know that that's how it's going to work, and that's completely fine. So another question, how much time do you anticipate programs will need to plan submitting info on the NET website each day during the program per student for attendance, etc.? So it should be fairly quick. The way it works is that once you upload your student roster, you can organize your youth services account by activity. So if you have multiple activities where the attendance would be a different group of students, you would have one activity that you would do attendance on. If your program is the same, so if a student shows up, they're there for the whole day, then your activity would just be your program. And so for each activity, you can click down and there's a list of students who are enrolled in that activity, and you can just select present for all the students and go and unclick which ones were absent. So that's the quickest way to do it. We also have an option if you already have a really amazing system for tracking attendance. So some of our programs have their own systems in place. You can export your data from that system into youth services. So you can export from your system and upload into ours. And so if that's the case, I would say probably at the end of the week, that might be the best way to go about doing that. So for every week, you'll just export and upload into youth services if you already have a tracking system that your staff are using. And again, the webinars in May and June on youth services will have a lot more information on all of the details on how that's going to work.
So another item that's come up in the past, and looking at the attendee list for who's on the call, we think it's important to note that the parental consent forms for Summer Learning Project and for the Align cohort are different. So nothing to worry about unless you are a organization that is doing both. Then you would need to probably talk to one of us, Katie or myself, David McCauley, just to make sure the right students are getting the right consent form. But otherwise, if you're only doing Aligned, that's nothing for you to be concerned about. And another question we received on the last webinar is there any type of, is there a mandated type of program that needs to be part of the Align cohort? And the answer to that is no. We have a wide variety of diversity of approaches within the Align cohort that we really enjoy having them all part of the Align cohort. So everything from STEM programs to arts programs to college readiness programs to sports programs, and we appreciate that diversity of approach and welcome it within the Align cohort. So I think we're going to pause again for 2 more minutes just to make sure there aren't any other questions within either, again, feel free to speak into your phone or feel free to keep typing into the right-hand side of your box. And we appreciate the good questions you guys are asking.
So another question, when will we be receiving summer 2015 MOUs?
That will most likely be in May, because next month we're aiming to get the commitment form out. That was part of the next steps. That's the simple form to ask about your program details. And then either by late April or early May have the MOU out to everyone after they've committed to being part of the Align cohort. We'll give it another minute just in case anyone has another question, either within, feel free to speak into your phone again or type into the right side of your box. The right-hand side of your computer, rather, into the box, sorry. So we got another question here.
So this is asking, when will we receive the consent forms that students must complete and return? So you should have received an email last week, and if you didn't, please email me and let me know, and I'll send it back out to you to make sure that you're included on our list. But so I sent out the English and Spanish translations of the consent form last week, and then probably today or tomorrow we'll be sending out information on how to access all the other translations, which include a variety of languages. And so all of those consent forms and all the languages, I think there are 7 total, will be posted onto our Summer Insight Center, which is a new website we just launched this spring. So they'll be posted on the website. You can access them at any time. So more details on that coming out within the next few days.
Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm just finishing this webinar.
You case stuff for tonight.
I do, yep.
So.
Okay, everyone. I think we really appreciate all the great questions you all asked, so thank you for those. And as you know, Katie and myself are always available for follow-up questions if they come to you after we hang up. So on the screen in front of you now, you can see our email and our phone numbers respectively. So feel free to reach out to us should you have follow-up questions. And we're very excited to be working with you all again in summer 2015 and continue to build on the great momentum from the past couple summers. And we're also very excited to take next steps with you soon. So the next step you'll be hearing from us is the consent forms in other languages. We'll send out a notification about that when they're ready. Plus, you'll be receiving the commitment form sometime in early April to pursue next steps with us. So until then, again, feel free to be in touch. But thank you so much for joining us this morning, and we look forward to talking to you all soon. And have a great rest of the day. Bye, everyone.